theme for this issue is foundations, and this is a really important time of the year for that, because you think of September, October as harvest time, and sometimes it's good to reflect on what we are harvesting, because that means what did we reap, what did we sow the previous year, and particularly as we get older, we realise that we're shifting into a new time, a new phase in our lives. So maybe before we were very focused on the children or focused on our careers, and now we have to realise the foundations we lay now are what we're going to reap in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And I mean, sometimes we see these amazing 80-year-olds swanning around, full of life and vitality. And I'm thinking, what did they sow in their 50s, in their mid-40s? And I want to be one of them. Because then you do come across that sort of fork in the road where you get somebody they've aged, but they're holding on to a lot of maybe trauma, grief, unfulfilled promises, what ifs, I should haves. And I think that fork in the road comes around menopause time for us women, when we realise we can keep holding on to the past, or we can start to shed it. And the linchpin that many of us are for our families starts to loosen, because we get a chance to teach our children, our grandchildren, nieces, nephews, godchildren, how to be the linchpin in their relationships, in their world. But we get to free things up a bit and ditch the past, having learned from it, of course, that's really important. And for the men, it's maybe the young bucks are coming up behind and they're taking the accolades at work, and perhaps they've gone as far as they can go. And it's a big time, the empty nest syndrome kicks in here. The wisdom of, this is my harvest, this is what I've sown previously, and to appreciate it. Not look at all the bad stuff, look at the great stuff, and then look to the sowing for the future, those strong foundations, and maybe shifting the old foundations and laying new ones. I think a lot of women are very nervous because there aren't an awful lot of role models. I mean, we think of our mothers and our grandmothers who lived in a very different Ireland and had to focus on different things. So sometimes it's not just the courage, but it's also the fear of, if I look after myself, people will think I'm vain or full of myself. But we forget the old adage we learn when we get a plane and a flight. Put your own safety equipment on first, then look to others. So it's really the same thing. So we need to look after ourselves so that we're in a position to be there for others. I think the childhood and the teenage years and the motherhood and fatherhood years are well grooved, but it's that extra phase. We can invent what we need to do.